NBA legends are famous for raking up a large amount of cash for the games they play, and while many become millionaires, there's two legends that are on top of the list. You're in luck today because that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. Who are these legends? They're none other than basketball's greatest, Michael Jordan, and Shaquille O'Neal. Let's see who gathered more green during his time in the NBA. First up, let's take a look at the two players. O'Neal and Jordan might be pretty close when it comes to their accomplishments in the game, but one thing that they share, apart from being the most incredible people in the sport, is the fact that they were huge moneymakers. Jordan is practically a billionaire, although it's important to note that most of his income is generated from streams outside of NBA. O'Neal, however, being the most marketed player of the NBA, had a lot of side gigs going on, such as being an analyst on Inside the NBA, apart from other stuff, so it's safe to say that both pose strong competition to each other. It's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top. Well, the good thing is that's why we're here. Moving on, let's see how Jordan earned his income. If Michael Jordan solely depended on his NBA income, then he wouldn't have had the net worth he boasts of now. In fact, there's a chance that he might even have gone bankrupt like we've seen many NBA stars do. But thank goodness the player was smart enough to invest in other opportunities. But what were these side hustles? Well, these include advertisements, events, and of course his globally renowned Michael Jordan brand. But that doesn't go to say he earned anything while playing basketball. Get this, there was a point in his career when the player earned more than the entire Chicago Bulls team. And no one could even bat an eye at this decision, as Jordan at that time was considered to be the best player in the franchise. Wealthy or not, Jordan's definitely had a rich career in the NBA, with 10 scoring titles, 6 final MVPs, and 6 NBA titles. The man's definitely a force to reckon with. Following up, here's Shaq's stream of income. As we mentioned earlier, O'Neal owes his billionaire status to different projects he dwelled in outside of the NBA. This of course includes the several appearances he made at different events, being a part of different industries such as restaurants, candies, and footwear. Well, it seems that most of the players have often found a promising business in shoes and footwear. Well, that's definitely something, but that's enough for his side hustles. For now, let's dip into his earnings during his NBA career. Well, you might remember Shaq to have quite an intimidating presence on the court, and well, looks like he really put that to use. At the time of his retirement, the man had 4 NBA titles, an MVP award, and 3 finals MVPs. Okay, this might not be as good as Michael Jordan, but it still puts him up there as one of the greatest players in the history of the NBA. That's enough of their income streams and side hustles. Let's take a look at how much the players earned during their time on the courts. First up, we've got Jordan and his $94 million career. Okay, this amount might be quite surprising to you, since one would expect the greatest player of the sport to only earn $94,022,500 through it. His lowest salary came in his first season in '84 to '85 when he earned $550,000. His most earning season, however, was 1997 to '98, where he received $33,140,000 in salary. Now, if you compare this to the salary of an average Joe, then it appears to be a lot of money, but you've got to keep this in mind. Michael Jordan was no ordinary person, and of course, we're not saying that the NBA should only pay him for his star power. Nope, what we're actually trying to say here is that the man managed to bring in hundreds of millions of dollars to the association, so getting a little over $94 million doesn't seem like that big of a deal. Besides, we honestly think that this amount doesn't even fully compensate for all the hard work and effort he put in to ensure those 10 scoring titles for the Bulls. And well, if someone says that they just couldn't hand Jordan more money as he was already earning more than the rest of the team, alright, fair point, but we didn't see any other people lining up titles for the Bulls. So maybe apart from his highest earnings in '97 and '98, the player was grossly underpaid. Now for Michael Jordan and his NBA earnings. So the stats we mentioned earlier in this video clearly show that Jordan was in some ways a superior player to O'Neal, but there's something that'll shock you to the core. Shaq's NBA earnings were actually greater than Jordan's. The player earned a whopping $292 million in his career, which we think is pretty much the right sort of amount of compensation that he deserved. His lowest income came in his last season in 2011, which he spent with the Boston Celtics, where he earned $1,352,181. As for his highest salary, the player got $27.6 million in his 2004-2005 season with the Miami Heat. That's still less than Jordan's highest salary, but here's the thing. Most of Shaq's earnings were more than $20 million, whereas only 2 of Jordan's salaries hit that mark. Now, why is there such a huge difference in both their paychecks? Well, some might think it was probably due to the fact that Jordan was a player from the early '80s, whereas O'Neal started playing in the early '90s. Why does this matter? Well, during that time, no one really paid attention to what the players were being paid, so the franchise owners probably took advantage of that. That only slightly explains this heap of difference between the two players' salaries. What's interesting is that both players were playing in the 1996 season, where Jordan was paid $3.8 million at his peak, while O'Neal got $5.7 million. Well, we can only blame those differences on Jordan's agent because they clearly were unable to negotiate a good deal for the player. Another thing, O'Neal never stuck with one franchise for long. This probably allowed him to negotiate better deals with other teams and get paid what he deserved. Up next, what does this make Michael Jordan? It's pretty sad to see that one of the most talented and accomplished players in basketball was also the most underpaid one. If Jordan was playing in today's era, his salary would easily cross the $55 million mark. The six-time NBA champ wouldn't just dominate the courts, but he would definitely instill fear amongst the greatest players, such as LeBron James. Apart from this, he would have been able to bring in 10 times what he previously did to the association. So with a better focus on player salaries in modern times, Jordan would have easily become the highest paid basketball player of all time. Now, by this, we obviously don't mean that the income earned by Shaq wasn't deserved at all. In fact, he definitely earned every single penny in his paycheck. It's just that Jordan should have been paid accordingly as well. Lastly, here's a look at their net worth. So Shaq might have easily won the NBA earnings showdown among the two, but before leaving, let's take a look at how the two players are doing now. Well, you must be very happy to know that all the hard work the player put in on the field did come through. Even though he might not have been paid in big numbers while he was on the courts, he did manage to draw immense star power and win hearts around the world, something that's helping him out after his retirement. With multiple businesses going on, the champ has been able to reach the $1.7 billion mark in his net worth. If things continue to go in his favor, we'll soon see him crossing the $2 billion milestone. And, well, we all know that a pair of Jordans has become a staple in pretty much everyone's wardrobe over the years. Good for him. And Shaquille O'Neal, well, it's good to see that he's also doing pretty well for himself. With a net worth of $400 million, the former NBA star is definitely one of the richest athletes alive. He's got stakes in top-notch brands such as Five Guys, Papa John's, Krispy Kreme, and Auntie Annie's, among others. So we can safely assume that he's living a pretty comfortable lifestyle. Here's an interesting fact. Shaq owns 155 of the Five Guys establishments, which amounts to 10% of the total company. Isn't that something cool to think about when you go down there the next time? That's a wrap for this video, folks. What do you think of the difference between Shaq's and Michael Jordan's income? How much do you think Jordan should have earned during his time in the NBA? Let us know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more awesome videos like this. See you in the next one.